It's day 435. It's also July 14th, 2020, and we are in Green River, Wyoming. You ever wake up in the morning and ask yourself, what am I doing? And more importantly, why? Yeah, me too. Hi, my name's Craig, and this is my story. A story about life out there. For visuals while listening, search Life Out There on your favorite social media platform or use the links in the podcast description. July, in this part of the country, does not mess around when it comes to the heat. Our little shaded retreat in Elk Springs wasn't cutting it anymore. And with the temps nearing triple digits again, it was time to hit Craig, Colorado for some supplies, then back out past Maybell, where we'd head north and up. If a guy's going to find his way towards Montana from Craig, Colorado, there's a little place called Wyoming he's got to trek across for a bit. So we did. And Highway 318, it's a pretty awesome 2-lane road that would take us through places like Sunbeam, Colorado, and the Browns National Wildlife Reserve, and then the Gates of Ladore.
The river is probably my main draw, but that's not the only reason I love to be out here. There's an opportunity for anyone and everyone to come out and have a great experience. We're on a 4-day Gates of Ladore Green River trip. Overall, from the start to the finish, we're going to do 44 miles through the center of Dinosaur National Monument. Guests get more than just the rafting experience. The hikes, the campsites are incredible. The guide staff are just really passionate about what they do. From cooking incredible meals to taking people on these awesome hikes to waterfalls or just really beautiful scenic overlooks. The beauty of rafting in Dinosaur National Monument, you can have really young children, you don't have to have experience, you don't even have to be very athletic going through big rapids and having that excitement. Throughout the time here, Dinosaur Monuments had a diverse history, from those early trappers to the early whitewater rafting groups to today's scientists studying endangered fish, our paleontologists that are studying the dinosaur fossils. One of the most common experiences here at Dinosaur National Monument is to visit the fossil quarry, or the Wall of Bones. And this particular site was discovered in the early 1900s by Earl Douglas. And Earl Douglas had some incredible foresight to leave some of these bones intact for future generations to come and see how they were deposited, how they fossilized, and were left behind. The Fremont culture left their mark with a lot of incredible rock art, petroglyphs, pictographs along the rock walls that as you traverse the rivers, you get to see these incredible archaeology sites. And these images have been here for 700 to 1,200 years. We really want to protect and preserve them for future groups to see. As people come, they come from all over the world, all over the nation, and sometimes this is people's first experience seeing a wild place like this. So when they come out here to help them kind of understand the grandness of these huge canyons, these big western rivers, and the nature that we see, the animals, the plants, the insects, the birds, it's really important to show these people and help them understand how valuable this is to all of us as a society and a culture. When our customers get off of a Gates of Ladore rafting trip, I hope that they leave with a better love and understanding of how important our wild places are.
We'd spend our fair share of time trekking along dirt roads, winding our way down into and then back up out of a pretty incredible campsite. And after all this driving, we had no idea that we were still circling that Dinosaur National Monument. Really driving home how massive this place is and all you can find within it. We'd also find our way to a little white schoolhouse, the Browns Park Schoolhouse, seemingly in the middle of nowhere. But the playground outside and the well-kept structure provided all sorts of evidence that it was still in use today. A little more reading would tell us that this little school began life in 1911, serving the children of nearby ranchers. The little one-room schoolhouse would continue its duties until 1947, when the school was closed. But the building continued to be used for community events, and in 1970, it became part of the Browns Park National Wildlife Refuge. The building underwent restoration in the early 2000s and now serves as an important community center for rural residents in the area. It was also at this time that the structure was renamed the Ladore Community Center. And this wildlife refuge itself? Well, it was established in 1956 and provides sanctuary for migratory birds. It also conserves endangered species and, of course, offers tons of recreational opportunities. It's a beautiful area. Turns out with a rich history, including Native American petroglyphs, trapper rendezvous points, and even connections to outlaws like Butch Cassidy. There's plenty of local folklore around here about the days when Butch Cassidy, along with his gang, the Wild Bunch, had used the area as a hideout. The remote and rugged terrain made it perfect for dodging law enforcement. And it also didn't hurt that local ranchers, in their struggles against wealthy landowners and powerful cattle barons, often sympathized with the outlaws, providing support and safe haven for Cassidy and his gang. There are even stories of Cassidy and his men hosting lavish celebrations in the area on local ranches, treating the hard-working ranchers to incredible feasts, which only further endeared the gang to the locals. We'd spend a couple hours parked alongside that schoolhouse. It was a great spot for some lunch. And wondering just how far away one of those incredible feasts might have taken place, and how many times Butch Cassidy might have raced up this road on horseback. Or even, in later years, his Stanley Runabout, the fastest steam-powered automobile available in the 1890s. Enabling he and his gang to disappear into these mountains at a mind-boggling 35 miles an hour.
These days you hear a lot about electric cars making inroads against old-fashioned gasoline models. Well, there was a time 100 years ago when there were three ways to power your car: gasoline, electric, and steam. And the folks here at the Marshall Steam Museum in Yorkland, Delaware, gave me the opportunity to step back in time and drive a Stanley steamer. Tom Marshall, whose father started this museum, he'd been a former Stanley steamer dealer, took me through the process of firing up this 1913 Model 76. It's not a simple matter of pressing a button or turning a key. Instead, first you've got to start the pilot light, then you have to wait for that to warm up enough to start your kerosene-powered main burner. During that process, while you're boiling the water inside the burner, you've got to keep the fuel pumping to the front, something you do by hand until you get the car fully started. All in all, starting a Stanley steamer took about 30 to 45 minutes, unless you were really good at it. The main trick here is keeping just the right amount of steam at a proper speed going up and down hills. And of course the steering is not what you're used to on a modern car. It's a lot heavier.
This car is completely wood frame, and they didn't go to steel frame till 1915. Now what you hear under our feet there are the water pumps clacking there.
We're downhill, I'm turning off the throttle, hitting the brakes. There we go. All right, now I'm going to back up. For a 100-year-old car, this Stanley steamer didn't drive too badly. Quiet, smooth ride, could use power steering, that's about it. But with that 30-minute startup time, I can see why steam cars weren't a big hit with American drivers.
I'd have probably opted for the horse, given that I doubt any of these roads we're trekking on today were even here at the time. And after lunch, we left the little schoolhouse, crawling along this dirt road back out to pavement, and skirted across the northeast corner of Utah along that flaming gorge and into Wyoming. The drive into Rock Springs and Green River was a long climb up to just over 6,000 feet high, and the increase in elevation brought cooler temps, and things only got better when we found the Wild Horse Loop, an adventurous trek up another 1,000 feet or so into the White Mountains, where there are hundreds of wild horses roaming freely. The loop is known in the area as a self-guided tour along 24 miles of dirt road, in which you can view hundreds of these wild horses. And being on public lands, it's also a pretty cool spot for boondocking, especially when you find the perfect spot to pull out onto a bluff, bringing the Green River and Rock Springs area into full view. We spent a couple of days here enjoying the brisk winds, 50-degree nights, and 80-degree days. But try as we may, we never did spot any of those wild horses. I guess they're pretty good at avoiding Dougie and I. But thank goodness, you two gave us plenty of proof that they're here, somewhere. Our spot on the bluff allowed for watching the lights of the city twinkle each night, far enough away that we could hear nothing, but see everything. Enjoying long walks during the day, hanging out on that bluff, waiting for them horses to graze by, and into another evening of stargazing, before diving in for tons of fun learning of the history of the area. And turns out there's plenty of it. Green River and its population of 11,000 today began life as a railroad town in 1867. And around the same time, Rock Springs, population today some 25,000, would gain its spot on the map here as a coal mining town. And oil would enter the picture as well in the following years. And just like so many other communities out this way, they'd make their way out of the 1800s and through the turn of the century as lawless as they come. And more stories than you can count when it comes to proving it. How the area would become known as the home of 56 nationalities, and the conflict that would come as struggling miners would attempt a strike in an effort to be paid fairly and provide better working conditions, only to have their jobs snapped up by desperate immigrants trying to feed their families. And all of this leading to bloody battles on the dirt streets of both towns. And what about the quieter times, if you can call it that? Like the one afternoon when a drunk Irishman would stumble into a saloon and assault the saloon keeper he had just offended, only to find himself drug into the streets by an angry mob and strung up just minutes later. The townfolk making it clear that anything from horse thievery to offending the local barkeep would be swiftly dealt with. No need to clog up the court system. Oh wait, there wasn't a local court system, so never mind. And bank robberies? Same applied, I guess, but you had to catch 'em first. And good old Butch Cassidy's name comes up here, too. It seems the area was a popular target, likely given that he and his gang would easily disappear into those Gates of Ladore Mountains after the hit. But as rough and tumble as it once was, the law would eventually make its way, even way out here, and begin to bring the area to what it is today, a diverse community that celebrates that diversity, and their ancestors from all walks of life and nearly every corner of the globe that had a hand in building what we see today. And it looks like folks around here enjoy mild summers. And man, do they deserve it. The area is known for its bone-chilling cold and harsh weather during the winter months. It can drop below freezing around here as early as October, and many years does not come out of that deep freeze until the following May. Thankfully, for us, we came through it just the right time. The gusty breezes were pretty continuous throughout our stay, and they may have ruled out any shot at an evening campfire, but they didn't stop us from spending hours, well, days for that matter, just soaking it all in and imagining a little more about this American West. We'll pack up tomorrow, head back down to asphalt. Not really sure exactly what direction we'll take, but I wonder what we'll learn there. Turns out, this thing called life comes with a lot of rules. Maybe it's time to break a few. Because you can. No, seriously, you can.